Welcome to The Pulse, where we delve deep into the issues and ideas that are shaping the future of education. I'm your host, Rick Cerncy, Superintendent of the Putnam County School District, and each week we'll be talking to teachers, administrators, and other experts in the field about the latest trends, best practices, and most pressing concerns in education. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who cares about education, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the pulse. Welcome back to our podcast today, and it is my distinct pleasure to have Les Sims with us today. Les is a local businessman, business owner, works hard, but in his spare time, he is actually serves as the chairman of the board for the local educational foundation of Putnam County, which of course works very closely with our school district. And I'll tell you, we've heard about a lot of foundations, and we know one thing about foundations. They can do a lot of things that maybe districts can't as far as supporting programs. And I know several other districts in Florida have thriving foundations, and it really correlates to success in the district. So, Les, thanks for being here, and I really do appreciate you taking time out to come talk to us about the foundation. And so let me just ask you to maybe introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself for the audience that may not know you, and then we'll go in and talk about the foundation.
Well, for those of you who do not know me, Rick said, Les Sims, chairman of the board. I was elected chairman to the Education Foundations Board this July. I had served on the board for 2 years prior. That's who I am. I do not have much of an education background, believe it or not. I grew up a humble beginning in my life throughout, growing up and going in the military. It brought me to where I am now at a local roofing company in the construction world doing what I do. But I have a passion for education, but more so providing opportunity to those who may not have access for that because, like I said, my humble beginnings, I don't forget where I came from and how I got here. So that being said,
give us a little background about the foundation, if you would.
Like I said, I came on board in 2021. They recruited me to get involved, and hopefully I'm not letting them down. But to my knowledge, the foundation started out as Lift Putnam in Putnam County here. In about 2016, we had a bunch of local educators and business persons that had this idea that we could do better for our children if we would provide full-day scholarships for the pre-K program. The state would provide half-day funding. They came in and did that. That was great, but we felt like with a few more hours a day, these kids would do a lot better long-term in high school years, college, and so that's what they did. For their first 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years, their goal was to provide those scholarships to get these students for full day, and that we were successful in that. But I think right around 2020, either the state or the federal government came in and said, look, we're going to provide some funding for that. And so that kind of took our role away from us. And at that time, we were kind of rebuilding on that board. And I got invited to get involved. And we said, why don't we open our vision up? And why don't we look around and see what the other potential projects may be? And the entire board agreed 100% at that time. It was time to grow. And at that time, we decided, well, while we're doing that, let's rebrand, let's remarket, let's take this thing to the next level. And through a series of meetings and discussions, the Education Foundation of Putnam County was reborn from Lift Putnam. So we still have several board members that are what I call plank owners from Lift Putnam that were around when it first started. But I attribute most of our success for what they did in the beginning.
I haven't heard of plank owners before. It sounds, first thing I thought about is somebody had to walk the plank like a pirate or something. But
that's an old Navy term. I'm a Navy man. I did 4 years in the Navy prior. Right out of high school, actually. And a plank owner, they used to be made of wood decks back then. And if you were on the ship when it was christened, you were a plank owner. And
gotcha.
So that's how we get that
term. That's the first time I've heard that. It really is. And
yep.
Well, and I really do appreciate it. I was, definitely remember the days when it was Lift Putnam and, they supplied a number of scholarships for students to have full day. And, and I know that is still very important, especially for early learning. But since, we have some funding for that now, the kind of some of the things that you're venturing into is kind of the purpose, like you mentioned, of the foundation has really become more broadened. Yep. So maybe talk to us about the purpose. What do they do now as opposed to what they did when they first started?
Yeah, so our purpose, you kind of hit on that earlier. Our main job, what we do is just fill the gaps in funding where the district can't. you and I both know that there's so many rules and laws and everything with funding. You can't take money from this bucket or that barrel. You just can't cross lines with it. Everybody gets in trouble. Even though it's for the better of everybody, they just get in trouble. So our job is to really find funding sources and partners and relationships where we can come in and fill those voids. And we've got numerous programs, as you know.
What are some examples of some of the stuff you do? I know you broaden it, and you don't have to get in detail, but some of the kind of categories or different topics that y'all focus on now.
You know, a big push state and nationally is the trades. You know, everybody needs somebody in the trades. And so we are still looking into how can we fund trades programs with the district? How can we supplement what you're already doing? And I think we have several big donors that are doing some outside work, and we come in. But we also are really getting into the aeronautical engineering arena. QI Roberts has this great program out there, and what a story with Colonel Lewandowski. I mean, if you haven't heard him, you need to listen to some of his interviews. He's really great. But so we're getting it. Not only are we still dabbling in the pre-K scholarships, but we've done other things like post-secondary scholarships. We were giving those out for years. That way, when seniors would graduate, they could apply. We could apply some funds there. We've done stuff, multi-sensory learning projects, and providing funding for students who have a hard time reading. Some kids just need a little help, maybe how they learn. Some kids can read it in a book or look at a book and learn that way, but some kids need to use tools with their fingers and their hands. And so I think last year, we were able to provide like $22,000 or $23,000 just for that program to provide these, I call them toys, but they're not toys, they're learning instruments to the kids that really needed that help.
Maybe the teachers have these supplies where they could actually help these students who, might have trouble with traditional reading instruction. So, addressing those different modalities is really important. The beauty of a foundation is a foundation can actually purchase things that the district cannot because a lot of our accounting and a lot of our restrictions that the state puts on us and all that. So that gives us a lot of flexibility, and it fills those gaps like you talk about. You mentioned the district, and of course the Putnam County School District is not actually a part of the Educational Foundation of Putnam County. We actually call it a non-district supported organization now, but they do work independently to support the programs and the students of the Putnam County School District. So, what's your interpretation of the relationship with the foundation and the school district?
Sitting here today, it's a great relationship. It's the exact relationship you look forward to when you have this type of entity. You are correct. Our bylaws stipulate that we can only have so many employees on our board of directors that work for the district to keep that balance of, hey, we are our own entity. We stand on our own 2 feet. We know what our goal, and we know what we need to be doing, but we have to protect ourselves and our funds and the students. And
we meet monthly, and we have a real good relationship, and actually we talk about the progress of a lot of those projects you have going on. I know y'all bring in kind of a status sheet on each of those projects, and how much money's been raised and so forth. And we meet with your executive director from time to time. So, that way we're kind of on the same page, and we get a progress report.
Yeah, and that's so imperative that we work together. Our administrator has just worked wonders for us, Kathleen. She's great. She's really helped us focus and hone in on what we should be doing, and kind of keeps us in line during our board meetings to say, look, they're getting outside of the lines here. Let's bring it back a little bit. So, like I said, our relationship with the district, I couldn't ask for any better with our monthly meetings, and we can speak frank with each other if we need to, and just figure out how we can help each other.
I know you have a real diverse board, and I know that they come from the business community and maybe some other educators. So you have a pretty diverse group of people that can make those decisions and all. But if somebody wanted to really get involved more with the foundation, whether they wanted to ask about serving on the board, or most importantly, if they wanted to make a contribution, can you give me an idea? And we can actually put that on any contact information. We'd be glad to put that on the screen. But how would a person, if they want to make a donation to the school district through the foundation, what would you recommend they do?
The first thing we do is we'd send you, obviously everybody's on Facebook these days, and so that's the easiest way to find us at the Education Foundation of Putnam County. There's a link to our website there, and our link there will provide you options and information of what you can and cannot fund, or just how you want to do it. More importantly, this last 6 months or so, our board has decided, that we need to look into other ways to do that, of whether it be planned giving through an estate or something like that. We need to provide these opportunities. We currently only have about, I think it's 11 board members, but we really need to open that up to a lot larger group because we have so much work to be done. And so now we're opening a new area of our foundation called the Friends of the Foundation. And it's not a buy-in program. It's a matter of, hey, do you want to get involved? Do you want, because so many of our community members have time and they want to get involved, and they just want a job. And so much like Love Rotary, I mean, they have 80 people at their lunchtime meeting, and so they can get a lot done, whereas we have 11. And so we have established the Friends of the Foundation, and that's going to be a networking group that comes in to help us put on our fundraising events, because really that's what we do is fundraise. That's all, and we may look to do other things in the future, but that's what y'all need us to do is fundraise, and then distribute the funds.
Well, the good thing too, there's a state foundation that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they will match a certain portion of what y'all generate, and so it's like a match. Yep. So again, that kind of expands your
exactly
fund
what
base.
it is. The Education Foundation, the consortium of education foundations, they do a grant match, and so actually the multi-sensory program, that's how we were able to come up with a lot of those funds, is they were to match that with us this year. And so every year, depending on the population size that we're serving, they will match up to a certain amount, which generally is around $30,000 to $50,000, depending on what we're asking for.
So let me ask you this, and again, the Facebook page is great, and it links you to the website.
As a businessman, I think about things in black and white and numbers. And one of my biggest concerns when I'm giving my money out is, how is it protected? How do I make sure this money is not wasted on a general budget or something like that? And we are creating an endowment where you will be able to take your funds and give them to us. We will protect them, and we'll take that money and we'll grow it. The plan is to try to grow it to $1 million, and then we'll just spend the dividends off of the interest earned off of it, which right now would be nice at 5 to 6% a year. That would create a lot of funding opportunities, and that way your money could go into perpetuity. Long after you're gone, your family, your name, or your business, whatever you wanted to do, could still be remembered through that legacy. So we're working on that.
You could call it the so-and-so endowment or
whatever.
whatever.
So mine will be the Les Sims Family Endowment. I'm going to start one just as soon as our bylaws are enacted and all that. So we'll have that within the next 6 months. That was a dream of the late Danny Martinez. I sat down and talked to him about this, and I'm pretty well versed in endowments. I deal with some other ones throughout the state, and so I know what I'm doing there. But here on a local level, we needed to have some other insight.
And actually, if I'm not mistaken, somebody could actually set up an endowment through maybe their life insurance.
You could. So planned giving through your life insurance.
Right. After a person passes away, you could put that in the policy.
The nuts and bolts of it would be basically, we would ask for any amount, but once you reach the $25,000 level, your named endowment will live forever.
That's great.
My family, long after me and my kids and my grandkids, it'll be there. And so by creating that endowment and that investment, I will have a seat at the table to say how that money's spent every year. Called a board of governors.
Yep.
And so that way the money doesn't get blown and spent over the years, because I have skin in the game, and I can protect that. And after me, it'll be my kids protecting that.
What's cool about that is we can actually touch generations in the future.
Absolutely.
Just by leaving that gift. So I would ask everybody listening to really think about that. Contact Les or anyone at the foundation, and I know it's a work in progress right now. And I know a couple things we're looking for. Les mentioned our aeronautics program. Y'all actually have an appropriation request.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll hear something positive soon, but really to try to provide funding for health students who need transportation to do some of the internships and that type of thing, and also to provide scholarships for our students who want to get flight hours.
Correct.
And it's very costly to get flight hours to get your pilot's license. So that's going to provide that, provided it goes through the state. So that's the kind of stuff that we could not do as a district, but y'all were stepping up and doing that. So
with the same program, the aeronautical program last year, the team needed to go to Cape Canaveral for an aeronautical engineering competition, and I have no idea what that was or what they do there because I'm not that smart. I'm just a roofer. But they needed a little bit of money. I want to say it was to the tune of $4,200. They needed bus funding and hotel funding. So, we rolled the dice and said, hey, sounds great. Let's do it. They came back first or second in the nation, I believe it was, from Putnam County. And we said, wow, so this year we've decided to fund both, I think, Crescent City and QI's program to send them down there because that's exposing these kids to something they never would have seen before. A lot of these kids haven't been out of county. And so it's opening their eyes that, hey, there's a big old world out there, and go see it and then come on back to Putnam County and raise your family and grow.
Well, I'll tell you, I can't thank you enough for taking time to be here, and look forward to seeing what kind of a response we get from our public.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you again for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate you.